Hello and welcome to a new episode of the Sustainability Channel. I'm Thomas Stanley and I'm your host. Let's start today's news update by having a look at an article from Formula One, and it's on their progress in sustainability as the first impact report is being released. And it's revealing that the sport is on target to meet the goals set out in its sustainability strategy. The comprehensive report shows how the strategy is being successfully delivered through Formula One's ESG activities. Plus, the latest carbon footprint calculations show a 13% reduction in the sport's carbon footprint compared to 2018. As carbon data from 2023 continues to be collated and calculated, today's 63-page document reveals Formula One's carbon footprint data from the 2022 season, the first representative year to be measured following the COVID-19 pandemic, and includes details on how the sport will continue to deliver and make further progress. A quote here: sustainability is one of the most important factors to us, not only as a sport, but as a business, said Stefano Domenicali, president and CEO of Formula One. It's no longer enough for us to simply deliver great action and wheel-to-wheel racing on the track. We need to ensure that we are doing so in a sustainable way so our sport can thrive long into the future. The 2018 baseline was confirmed back in 2019 when Formula One launched its sustainability strategy with the goal to achieve net zero carbon by 2030, leave a legacy of positive change wherever it races, and build a more diverse and inclusive sport. Formula One made a commitment to cut carbon emissions by a minimum of 50% versus 2018, a target set using science from the Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change and its definition of net zero emissions, and following the guidance set by the Greenhouse Gas Protocol. The report sets out the sport's next steps to further reduce its carbon footprint and achieve the remaining 37% reduction, including a focus on the logistics sector that accounts for almost half of the total footprint. Formula One, the F1 teams, race promoters, and partners have been reducing carbon emissions by transitioning to renewable energy and making logistical shifts towards remote operations and sea freight. And some specific examples include, for instance, the Austrian Grand Prix reduced relevant emissions by more than 90% in the pit lane, paddock, and broadcast compound through a next-generation energy pilot. That trial is expanding in 2024 and beyond. The solar farm at the Bahrain International Circuit produced 5.28 megawatt of clean energy between the 2022 and 2023 Grand Prix, enough renewable energy to cover all the circuit usage for Formula One with significant capacity to spare. The British Grand Prix was fully powered by green energy alternatives. This included 2,746 solar panels and the use of hydro-treated vegetable oil fuel in all temporary generators. It's great to see a big motorsport actor like the Formula One working with sustainability in a serious way. Let's continue with an article from Axios, and it's on climate change that may cost 38 trillion a year by 2049, a study says. And they start by showing a map here which countries that will be hit hardest when it comes to decline in income due to climate change by 2049. And as we can see, it's the warmer regions here around the equator, and the northern countries are not projected to suffer financially in the same way. Climate change through the middle of this century is likely to be far costlier than thought, and this study finds the world economy is already headed for a loss of 19% of income per capita around the globe within the next 26 years due to historical emissions that will continue to warm the planet. The paper from 3 scientists at the Potsdam Institute for Climate Impact Research in Germany found that the likely economic damages of climate change during the next quarter century outweigh by 6 times the cost of mitigating global warming and holding it to 2 degrees Celsius above pre-industrial levels. The research is novel since it focuses on subnational regions, rather than looking at broader geographical areas. It examines climate's economic impacts during the past 40 years in about 1,600 subnational regions and then projects such impacts out to 2050. The researchers examined how climate change is likely to change daily temperature variability, total annual precipitation, the annual number of wet days and extreme daily rainfall that occur, plus the shifts already identified by changing average temperatures. The study finds that economic impacts of climate change are likely to be far more persistent than previous studies have shown. The new research is likely an underestimate of the economic hit from climate change. The new research is likely an underestimate of economic hit from climate change, since it does not include the impacts of sea level rise, stronger hurricanes, heat waves, and human health effects, along with other costly influences. The study shows that the largest economic losses are likely to take place at warmer latitudes, with the countries least responsible for historical emissions absorbing outsized economic damages, as we saw in the map earlier. However, the US and the EU would be significantly affected, the study shows, with per capita incomes increasing, but by smaller amounts than they otherwise would have in the absence of climate change. One message of the study is the necessity of making sharp near-term emissions cuts to avoid even larger economic losses after mid-century. And we're ending this news update with a tip on a guide from the Exponential Roadmap Initiative. It's the Circular Action Guide, how to cut emissions and nature impacts from materials in your value chain. This guide is for managers and employees in, for instance, business development, product design and management, procurement, and sustainability roles. It offers practical steps for companies to analyze their value chain, product portfolio, and business model in order to scale circular climate solutions and fully integrate circularity into their strategic business functions. It provides a step-by-step guide for shifting from a linear to a circular value chain. Such a shift will involve the entire organization, and companies will have to work in close collaboration with existing and new suppliers and customers to achieve this. Key performance indicators should be integrated in your business and transition plans in order to drive the business to transform towards a net zero and circular value chain. And you can download that guide in this link here or up here. So that's all for today. Over and out, and live a sustainable life.